Most people don't say it out loud, but they feel it constantly. Getting started feels heavier than it used to. Thinking clearly feels harder than it used to. Even simple things seem to require more effort than they should. And what makes this feeling so confusing is that nothing looks obviously wrong. You're not sick. You're not failing. You're not incapable. You're functioning. And yet, everything feels heavier. Most people quietly interpret this as a personal problem. They tell themselves they've become lazy, less disciplined, less motivated, less sharp than they once were. That explanation feels logical, but it's wrong. What's actually changed isn't you. It's the environment your brain is being asked to operate inside. A decade or two ago, effort was supported by the world around you. Now, effort has to fight the world around you, and the brain was never designed to win that fight indefinitely. Modern life doesn't remove effort dramatically. It removes it structurally, quietly, gradually, almost invisibly. One interruption at a time, one notification at a time, one unresolved task at a time, until effort starts to feel expensive. To understand why everything feels harder, you have to understand how the brain experiences effort. The brain doesn't experience effort as a single action. It experiences effort as load, cognitive load, emotional load, decision load. Modern life stacks all three, constantly. Every notification isn't just a sound, it's a decision. Ignore it or respond. Now or later. Important or irrelevant. Every open tab isn't just information, it's unresolved tension. Every unfinished task isn't just something you haven't done yet, it's background tension. Individually, none of these things feel overwhelming, but together, they create a constant low-level strain that never fully turns off. And the brain is very bad at resting under constant strain. This is why rest doesn't feel restorative anymore. You can sleep, you can take breaks, you can stop working for the day, and still feel mentally tired. Because the load never actually leaves. In the past, effort had edges. Work ended. Silence existed. Distraction required intention. If you wanted to escape effort, you had to do something to escape it. Now, effort has no clear boundary. The same device that delivers work also delivers entertainment, social comparison, breaking news, personal messages, urgency, and escape, all in the same place. Your brain never fully powers down. It just switches contexts. This is where most people begin blaming themselves. They say things like, I just need more discipline. I need to push harder. I used to be better than this. But effort doesn't disappear because of weakness. It disappears because it becomes inefficient. When the cost of sustained attention rises high enough, the brain does exactly what it's designed to do. It conserves energy, not consciously, not intentionally, automatically. This is why starting feels harder than continuing, why switching tasks feels irresistible, why boredom feels intolerable in a way it didn't before. The brain has learned something important. It has learned that effort rarely leads to closure anymore. Think about how many things in modern life actually end. Your inbox never finishes. Messages keep arriving. Feeds never stop. Workflows update continuously. There is always another task waiting behind the one you're doing. So the brain stops investing fully, not because it's broken, but because it predicts that effort will not resolve anything. This isn't a motivation problem. It's a prediction problem. The brain predicts that effort will lead to more effort, so it withholds energy. And that prediction is reinforced daily. Around the world, work has become more abstract, more fragmented, and more permanent. There's no physical done signal anymore. No moment where the body clearly understands that effort has concluded. Psychologically, this matters more than we realize. Humans evolved to work toward visible ends. When effort leads to completion, the brain releases relief. That relief refuels the system. When effort leads to continuation, the relief never arrives, so everything begins to feel heavier. Not because tasks are harder, but because they never psychologically resolve. Now let's zoom out for a moment. This feeling, this heaviness, isn't happening in isolation. It's happening across cultures, ages, and professions. People who are capable, people who are intelligent, people who care, all describing the same sensation. That should tell you something. When a feeling becomes this widespread, it's not a personal failing. It's an environmental signal. And here's a contrast that helps make this clear. Before smartphones and always online systems, effort looked different. Distraction still existed, but it required effort to access. If you were bored, boredom had space to breathe. If you were working, interruptions were limited. If you finished something, it stayed finished. There were natural stopping points. Now, stopping points are optional and rarely encouraged. Streaming platforms remove endings. Social platforms remove silence. Work platforms remove absence. There is always something asking for attention. So the brain adapts. It becomes cautious with energy. It avoids deep investment. It seeks relief wherever it can find it. And then people interpret that adaptation as a character flaw. They call it laziness. But laziness doesn't explain why capable people feel this way everywhere. Environment does. If you're watching this and thinking, yes, this is exactly what it feels like, pause here. Because this is the point where many people feel isolated. They assume everyone else is coping better. They assume they're uniquely behind. They assume they're failing some invisible test. If this part resonates with you, if this describes your day-to-day experience, leave a comment and say, "This hit," or describe what feels hardest right now. Not for engagement, for accuracy, because once people start speaking honestly, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Now let's go one layer deeper. The reason everything feels harder isn't just overload. It's that friction has been rearranged. Modern systems remove friction from distraction and add friction to focus. Scrolling is frictionless. Switching is frictionless. Escape and discomfort is frictionless. But starting meaningful work requires setup, resistance, and commitment, all while competing with effortless alternatives. This reverses the natural balance. The brain is a cost-benefit machine. When distraction is cheap and effort is expensive, the outcome is predictable. Effort begins to feel abnormal. This creates a subtle identity shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who stays with things. You start seeing yourself as someone who struggles. That identity is corrosive, because once effort feels personal, people stop redesigning systems and start attacking themselves. They push harder. They judge more harshly. They burn out faster. And none of that fixes the underlying problem. What's happening here isn't new, but it is intensified. Over the last decade, attention has become something other systems actively extract. Your tiredness isn't accidental. It's the side effect of being permanently reachable, permanently stimulated, and permanently unfinished. Your brain is responding exactly as it should. The moment you stop seeing this as a personal failure, something important happens. The pressure lifts. Not completely, but enough to think clearly. Because if the problem is environmental, the solution isn't force. It's redesign. Not extreme change. Not abandoning modern life. But restoring conditions that allow effort to make sense again. Effort needs boundaries. It needs closure. It needs protected space. When those exist, effort stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like progress. That's why older routines felt easier. Not because life was simpler, but because attention was less fragmented. Fewer decisions per minute. Fewer invisible drains. Fewer unresolved loops. The brain wasn't constantly negotiating. So here's the truth most people never hear. If everything feels harder than it used to, it's not because you're failing. It's because you're running a high-performance cognitive system inside a low-resolution environment. And no amount of motivation fixes that. Only structure does. The quiet kind. The kind that reduces unnecessary decisions. The kind that limits exits. The kind that allows effort to actually finish something. That's how ease returns. Not through inspiration, but through alignment. And when effort starts making sense again, something shifts, not overnight, but noticeably. Tasks stop feeling hostile. Starting stops feeling dramatic. The mind stops bracing before action. That's when people say, I don't know what changed. It just feels easier. What changed was the system. And once you see that clearly, you stop blaming yourself and start building conditions that work with your psychology instead of against it. If you want more videos like this, calm, honest breakdowns of why modern life feels the way it does, and how to work with your mind rather than fight it, you can subscribe. Not for motivation, but for understanding.